Hey, what's up guys? Jay here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about conflict bossing and our role inside of that conflict bossing. So I hope you guys are ready. We're going to get into this. I'm super excited about this. I got some requests to make a conflict bossing healing video, and essentially I think it's really important to discuss it because there's so many arc bosses that are going around right now, so many good weapons, good loot, and I think it'll be just a good conversation to have. So again, this is just an unscripted video, but I do have a couple things that I want to go over that I think are important, and so we'll jump right into it. So I'm not really going to get into too much of my stats and gear and my skills and things like that. Today we're going to be more focused on positioning. We're going to be focused on the goal for our healing and basically what we should be doing as a main healer in these conflict bosses. If you want to learn more about, what skills I bring to a guild versus guild environment, it doesn't really change much for bossing, and I'll explain a little bit why that's the case. So basically, I'm always looking at survivability. Survivability is my biggest thing here, and so you'll see that my strength stats is always going to be at 70 for these, 40 wisdom, 40 perception, because we hit these different thresholds that give us debuff, mana, buff duration, hit chance, and then for strength we get all of the max health and defense. And so that's really what we're going for. In an arc boss situation, we're always trying to enable the team to be successful so that we can get that loot. And so I'm just going to be focused on survivability. And so basically all my gear that I have in the links in the description below. And then I also have it in my YouTube channel. Feel free to scroll down and check that out. And then I'll quickly show my skills as well too. But again, I'm not going to be going too in depth with these because I have videos on these already. Today I just want to be talking more about the positioning, the goal, and everything like that. So first off, we're going to talk about what is the goal, the overall goal for being a healer in a conflict boss scenario. Well, so, I mean, this is pretty obvious to some, but maybe not to others. But the biggest reason why we do conflict bossing is to get that loot for the guild. And so that's really going to be dependent on your guild. Some guilds like to just go in for the PvP aspect, but a lot of guilds are going out there trying to get that arc boss loot, whether to sell it on the auction house or to, get it for their key players within the guild. And so basically that's going to be our mindset as we're talking about the role in as a healer, as a bow wand healer specifically, and then also your positioning within the conflict. We want to hit that boss gear. That's really our goal, guys. And so remember, as we're talking about this goal, that's going to impact what our role is, what we're going to be focusing on. And so, there's going to be a lot of opinions about what we should and shouldn't do within a conflict zone, but this is what I have found to be pretty useful throughout my time. Just to give you guys like a little background, my guild has been very fortunate. We've been in the last I think 4 Queen Bellendir conflict boss engagements, we've gotten I think all but one of the arc boss drops. So for the last one, we got the universal power, which was just awesome for our guild, and we're able to distribute that accordingly. My guild does a DKP system, so people were able to roll for that, and we were able to get it. Sometimes when we get the big boss weapons, we will sell that on the auction house, and then that's a free 1,000 to 2,000 lucent per member that participated, which is awesome. So guys, that is kind of the focus here, or that is kind of like background of it. We've been very successful in getting these. We're not a top guild, not a top 5 guild. We're a top 15 guild, and yet we're still able to beat out some of these top guilds. So I think that has to do with how we position, how we play, and understanding the goal, which is to get that loot. And so with that, we're going to talk about the role in a conflict boss scenario as a main healer, bow wand healer specifically. I think these can apply if you're a staff wand user or even a SNS wand and things like that, but I'm mainly going to be talking about the role in conflict from a bow wand perspective because that's the main role that I play. And so essentially, as we're thinking of that overall goal, we want to set conditions for our team to be successful. And so when you're making a build, always remember that. Remember that we do not do any damage. We have damaging skills and we can build that way, but we are better off enabling our team going from more of a pure healing and a pure support perspective, right? So I'm going to be bringing all my AoE spells, I'm going to be bringing all my AoE buffs, and I'm also going to be bringing things that can help with cooldown or CC and things like that, because we want our teammates to get the loot so that the rest of the guild can enjoy that too. Now, this is highly dependent on your guild. You know, if your guild does distribution where whoever gets the drop, that's who gets it, then maybe you want to change out some of your skills so that you can do more damage to the boss, because as we know, damaging the boss directly influences whether you get the drop or not. And then also healing does that as well. And so basically, as we kind of, unpack that a little bit, the devs kind of gave us the hint that yes, damage impacts it, healing does help, but I think from our experience in my guild that damage is just a little bit more impactful than healing. To put it in perspective, I'm trying to do a lot of healing and I'm put damage on the boss, and I've never gotten the drop, but in my party, we've been able to get the drop almost every single time we've gone to one of these conflict bosses, which is just awesome. I don't know if that's luck or what we're doing, but it's happened consistently. And so that's why I'm always going to bring, for me, pure healing and pure support skills to help my teammates survive as long as possible so they can do the most damage on the boss as possible. And so again, like within that, just to give a quick overview, our role within the conflict is to set conditions for our team to be successful so that we can get that boss item for the guild. And now that we've talked about the role in conflict, I want to get a little bit of perspective on the positioning within the conflict, right? And so positioning is super important in a conflict because we basically want to set ourselves in a position where we are the most effective. Now, again, this is going to depend on where your guild wants you. If they're doing kind of more of a backline and they want you there, or if they want you on a more front line, you're going to kind of have to follow what your guild wants. However, I would encourage you, after watching this video and kind of contemplating some of the things I'm talking about, what I would recommend is trying to put yourself in a situation where you are the most effective to heal your teammates and to protect them from all the things that are happening within the conflict boss. And so essentially how we do that, right, is it kind of goes back to my guild versus guild video where we want to put ourselves in a scenario where basically we want to ensure that we can heal our teammates as well as do damage on the boss if necessary. Now, if you're in an alliance guild where they do a lot of callouts and things like that, it's going to look a little bit different for you, but positioning is always going to stay the same. And with that, right, when you're looking at it from a healer's perspective, and you are a main healer, a bow wand healer, try to get yourself in a situation where you are surrounded by at least 2 or 3 tanks, because essentially you're going to be the most effective helping your front line or your backline support and things like that. And so positioning within that, as your tanks jump in, and I'll try to show some examples here, as they go in, you want to be in there with them, but at a good enough distance away to where you're not going to get focused out as the tanks are getting focused. Essentially, we want to be close enough to where we can heal, but far enough away to where we don't receive as much damage, and we want to enable them as much as possible. And that's the key here. We want to enable our teammates, going back to what our role is, set those conditions, and we do that by good positioning. Good positioning looks like, we're in the front line, but we're not too deep to where we're going to get attacked before our tanks do, but we're not too far away to where our heals are not effective. You want to find a position where you essentially have terrain around you to protect you, and you want to keep as many of your teammates between you and the enemy as possible, because you are the most important part when you're in your party, because you are keeping your teammates alive and keeping that pressure up, whether it's DPS on your team, tanks, or whatever you have. So make sure that you're in the heart of whatever's going on. If you're the front line, I want you guys to be in that with the tanks, but far enough away to where you cannot take damage right as you jump in the fight. And essentially, when your squad says, or your shot caller says, hey guys, we need to put damage on the boss, This is your cue to pop all your stuff, yes, on the boss, but I want you guys to focus on your role as a healer. When when someone is doing shot calling and they say, hey guys, damage on the boss, this means everyone's going to be jumping in and they're going to be attacking the boss. Yes, you need to get some auto attacks on there. Make sure you get your deadly marker for using that, maybe a flash wave or two. But remember, your role as the healer is to heal. Enable your teammates to do the damage on the boss. You need to obviously get some damage too so that you can get the participation chest and also have a chance at getting it. But if you can keep your teammates up longer, that's going to serve you way more if they're able to get the boss drop. And like I said, we've done Queen Bellander I think 4 or 5 times now, and we have gotten it every single time except for one. And I say like the main drop from the boss. So whatever, it's a different weapon, it seems like every time, but basically we've gotten a big drop from them, and it's been in my party specifically. Now again, I'm not tooting my own horn saying that I'm the best or anything like that, but essentially I am letting my DPS and tanks do as much damage as possible by enabling them, by giving them all the healing that I can give them. And so basically that's going to be kind of my strategy going into this, is always making sure that my teammates are as healthy as possible. And so I'll talk about a quick rotation of exactly how I do that, because I think that's important as well. So you'll notice in my kit specifically, I have Flash Wave, I have all these AoE spells, but I also have Limit Break, and Limit Break is really big in a guild versus guild environment, small scale PvP. I really am liking to use the Limit Break because it gives us an extra 20% healing when we use it for Flash Wave specifically. So you'll see a lot of the time what I will do specifically is I will always try to put myself in a position where I'm hitting my teammates with the Flash Wave, and I'm giving them an early invincible wall too, to make sure that they get all of the buffs that I'm giving them, all the healing that I'm giving them. And this is crucial, right? So don't be afraid when you're in a guild versus guild environment, or you're in a conflict environment, do not be afraid to use your spells early. Honestly, I think I would rather use my healing spells early and all my buffs, so my invincible wall, get my Bless Barrier AoE out there, get my Flash Wave out there. I would rather use all of that early to enable the team than have them die and use it too late because I'm too worried about, saving it for a specific moment. The reason why I say that is because conflict bosses are extremely chaotic, as you guys know. I mean, really chaotic. And so because they're so chaotic, we want to essentially make sure to get all of our heals out there as quickly as possible to enable our team. And so again, going back to the rotation that I'm talking about, what I like to do is to initiate a fight. What I always do, and you'll see that I'll try to show some videos of this if I have any, but essentially what I like to do is I'll drop my Bless Barrier on as many teammates as possible. If I can get myself in this, that's just as crucial too. I'll drop my Bless Barrier, and then right as I know we're about to jump in, I'll throw Invincible Wall down right away to hit all of my teammates. And then what I'll do is I'm going to use Flash Wave. And guys, when I'm using Flash Wave, yes, I want to be able to hit the teammates and the enemy if possible. That's going to be the most effective way to use Flash Wave. But I'm telling you right now, I would rather use Flash Wave to heal my teammates than to do damage on the enemy. And I know that's going to sound really counterintuitive, but I'm telling you, your Flash Wave, if you've built your kit right, you're going to have so much healing that Flash Wave is better used. So right now I'm at 73%. This is just, I'm not fully kitted out and stuff like that. But if you're able to get a Flash Wave on as many teammates as possible, that's going to enable them to stay in the fight longer. Yes, we have blind on our Flash Wave, and we have some damage capabilities, which is really good. So I want you guys to try to aim for both your teammates and the enemy. But if you have a choice between only hitting enemies and only hitting teammates, choose your teammates every single time, because that'll essentially save them and keep them more active and more aggressive. And so basically, after I use my Flash Wave, what I want to try to do is I want to use my Limit Break or Blitz, and you see how I have a little bit of time to use it again. That'll give that 20% more healing over time, which as you can see for me, I'm getting 2,600 a second just based on using that. So yeah, basically I want to make sure, I'm using Flash Wave, and then if I can use Blitz. Now you don't have to use it right away. I said that kind of weird, but essentially we want to use it so that if possible, if you can stagger the flash waves. So say for example, okay, I'm using my Bless Barrier, and then I'm using my Invincible Wall essentially right away. You want to pop those right as the fight is going on. And then when I use my Flash Wave, I'm going to fire this off, and if you look below my health bar, I have 13 seconds of that heal. But if you look at this, I'm getting about 1,000 heal per second. If you look on my guy who's getting about 1,000 heals, right? And that's pretty respectable. I mean, we're getting a lot of healing passively over time, which is really good. But essentially, if we hit that on our teammates, they have 13 seconds of that 1,000 heal. Now, if you see your teammates are still grouped, they're still looking pretty healthy, don't use Blitz right away if you can help it, but use it at a time when it's going to be the most effective. Now, I want to use Blitz to get my Flash Wave back. I'm going to fire the Flash Wave, and I'm able to get so much more healing, 1,100. This one, depending on if you can get a crit heal, which my last one I got 2,000 healing a second, which was awesome. And so basically right now, just even that 1,100 heal, getting that extra 20% heal can be extremely valuable to your team, and it's over time as well. And so basically we want to make sure we're using all of our AoE spells as best as we can, or as quickly as we can. But if there are situations when we can wait to use them, that's ideal, or wait to use Flash Waves specifically. That's going to be your most ideal, because then you can get 13 seconds of full heal and then use it again for an additional 13 seconds. Because essentially when you use Flash Wave, use Blitz, and then use Flash Wave again, it just resets that timer, thus kind of getting rid of that extra 13 seconds that you had on the first heal, if that makes sense. So essentially, if you're able to stagger them out, you can have essentially 26 seconds of pure healing from Flash Wave, which Flash Wave does a lot of healing to your entire team. I know I kind of talked that into the ground, but it's really important to understand that. So again, I'm going to recap, and I'm going to add something at the end here too. I want to make sure I'm using Bless Barrier right as the fight is about to start, or we're about to engage. I'm going to use Invincible Wall, and then I'm going to go into Flash Wave if I can, get that fully charged up, hit all my teammates if possible. That's a 13-second heal for us. Oh no, we're taking a lot of damage, so I'm going to use Blitz right away, and then I'm going to use Flash Wave immediately following that on my teammates to give them another 13 or 14 seconds of healing. And with that too, we also have Nature's Blessing, and so making sure that we're using, Healing Touch first on whoever's going to take a lot of damage, that could be yourself, and then using Nature's Blessing as well, because this gives us that AoE healing. With that, we definitely have, for me, I'm using Deadly Marker, so you want to throw that out to help with cooldown, help isolate a target. And then we also have our Tornado when our teammates call for it, or when there's a situation where everyone's grouped. But yeah, that's basically it, guys. That is the rotation. That's the positioning. I'm just going to recap again for you and, talk about it real quick one more time. Survivability in a conflict area is key, guys. Being able to survive is what you want to do, because that'll keep your teammates alive. And by keeping you alive, that keeps your teammates alive. Remember, the overall goal of the conflict is to get that loot for the guild, and we do that by recognizing our role within the conflict, which is to set conditions for our team to be successful. Yes, this is guild dependent, but our role is to keep our teammates alive as long as possible, and we do that by bringing all of our support and our healing skills. Lastly, positioning within the guild, or within the conflict, is we want to put ourselves in a situation where we're not too far up to where we get focused first, and we're not too far back to where we are ineffective. So whenever we're in a position where we're advancing on the boss, or we're about to fight some of the guys that we're feuded with, we want to make sure to position ourselves to where our Flash Wave is going to be effective for our entire team, and all of our AoE spells are effective for our entire team as well, but not in a situation to where we're going to get ourselves killed. Remember to use the terrain to your look around, use your surroundings, and make sure that there's, more of the terrain on, say for example, we're pushing up these steps, right, which happens a lot in these steps throughout this guild. This is Tevent specifically. So say you're advancing and you're trying to get up these steps, and my tanks are at the top of the steps, right, and they're fighting, they're doing their thing, this and that, cool. I don't want to be here where the boss is, right, and healing them, and then the boss and all of the enemies are surrounded out here. I want to be in a position where I can heal them, which would be, like right on the steps right here. I'm a little bit far back from here, using the terrain, the natural terrain, to help us. And then if they're pushing in, I am pushing in with them. So don't be afraid, guys. Use your spells. Spam them if you have to, because it gets very chaotic in these conflict events. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I hope that helped you. Rotation, make sure you're using your AoE spells. Make sure you're in a position where you're using all your skills. If you're in a position where you've died before you used any of your skills, then you have to reevaluate your positioning. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it helped a little bit. I know it's a little shorter than I usually do, but I wanted to get this out to you guys because I think it's important to discuss. But yeah, so I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next one.